Welcome back to the How to Podcast series. It's episode 239 of the show. 239, right? It's so much fun. I love doing this. And I love talking to you. I've got some great feedback from you, the listener. They say in podcasting circles that you're going to hear from a fraction of your audience, a very tiny fraction of your audience. So if the amount of calls, emails, SpeakPipe messages, meetups that I see people on, if that's any indication of the size of this audience, we have a big group based on the numbers that I hear spouted in podcasting. I just think if we create a free and open space to communicate with the host and the audience, build relationship and community together, we can do great things. So my encouragement to you as a podcaster, wherever you are, one episode or 100, that you are building into your community with one listener or many, as many opportunities as possible to speak to your audience, get time with them, face-to-face, Zoom to Zoom, voice message to voice message, email to email, whatever that is, DM to DM. You're going to have some interaction with your audience. It's great. And once you do it, you get more and more and more and more and more. That's kind of how it works. So show up for your audience, engage with them, and you'll see the fruit of your amazing efforts. So keep going. You're doing great. Even with one episode, you've done more than many people have. So keep going, all right? Don't give up. You got your support here. Anytime. howtopodcast.ca. My calendar's right there. Jump on. Let's get together. If you need a little boost of enthusiasm and encouragement, I would love to talk to you. I love idea generation. I love coming up with topic ideas for your show, giving you some directions around content, guesting, where to find guests, how to be a great solo podcaster. What if you're looking for a co-host? Hey, I would love to chat with you at howtopodcast.ca. Enough shameless plugs, Dave. Get into the content. 3 questions for a new podcaster. Why are you thinking about starting a podcast? Here on the How to Podcast series. 3 questions for you and some pie. I love pie. What's your favorite pie? I think mine is pumpkin. I have my grandmother's recipe and I love it. So anyways, pumpkin pie for everyone here on the How to Podcast series. So in keeping with the idea of pie, I want you to think of 3 things as we look at a pie, an unsliced pie, fresh, just freshly made. You can still smell, there's still steam on the windows in the kitchen. Just came out of the oven. Got some ice cream or whatever you're going to put on this Cool Whip.
Ooh, you got some pie, eh? Can I have a piece? Sure. Ooh, let me have some of that Cool Whip. What'd you say? You can't have a pie without Cool Whip. Cool Whip? Cool Whip, yeah. You mean Cool Whip.
And, you're excited about this. You're really, really excited. So you're going to break into this pie and you're going to slice it. Now, when I slice pie for myself versus my wife, she's like, oh, just half of that size. I like to cut a big slice. I want a project. I don't want a hobby, right? My pie is a project. I want a nice, healthy slice of pie. Pumpkin pie is my favorite. And I learned how to make pie from my grandmother when I was 16. So while all of my other friends were out doing whatever they did at 16, I was in the kitchen with my grandmother. Her name is Una Campbell. Long gone. I miss Grandma. And Una taught me how to make pie. And she was the queen of pies. Let's just put it that way. And I actually have her pie trays and tins and stuff with her name on it today, years and years and years later. And I still have her recipe cards, handwritten, by the way, with stains and all kinds of stuff on them. And it's just a great memory to have. But I can make and recreate, to the best of my ability, and her recipe, her pies. But her pies are amazing. But again, let's look at a pie from looking down at it from on the table, and you're looking in front of it. There's no slices. It's completely unsliced. Now, we're going to have 3 things we're going to talk about today. And I want you to think about how you're going to slice up your pie as we talk about these 3 things, picturing the size of the slice. Again, a project or a hobby, right? How big is these slices going to be in relation to the others as we go through this? So why are we doing our podcast? We need to figure out and know who we are and what our approach is to our show. So I have 3 questions for you, okay? And then we're going to dive into these a little bit. Here are the questions. Again, in the show notes, you can follow along for those at home with one hand eating pie and the other hand following along with the podcast. Here are your 3 questions. How much time, new podcaster listening, how much time do you have to devote to your podcast? That's number 1. Number 2, how much money do you have to devote to your podcast? Money, yes. And number 3, how much passion do you have to do this podcast? It's time, money, and passion. 3 questions for you. And now we're going to look at our pie. Are you ready? Pumpkin pie. Yeah, here we go. So if you want to, you can just draw a circle on a piece of paper in front of you, on the napkin next to the pie slice you're eating right now. Just draw a round circle, nothing in the middle. And with these 3 things in mind, time, money, and passion. If this is a 24-hour circle, okay, in your day, or a 7-day week, whatever you want to do, pick one. I want you to divide up that pie by what each of the 3 represents. So how much of that pie, unsliced circle, do you have in front of you? How much time do you have for your podcast? And now if you're going to do it by day, 24-hour clock. You have to sleep, you have to eat, you have to work, you have to play with the kids, put the dog out, all that stuff, right? So how much of your day, being a 24-hour day, if that was your circle, draw a slice there for how much time you have to devote to your podcast right now, as you are, okay? So you have it drawn now? Okay. Now, the next one. How much money do you have? Of the remaining pie space on your circle, section out how much money you have for your podcast. And then lastly, will represent the passion you have for your podcast. These 3 segments comprise the time, money, and passion equation. And knowing this equation can help you decide what kind of podcast you'll do and how often, or if you'll do it at all. In a perfect world, your pie chart should have equal portions. Enough time to execute your dream podcast, enough money to buy the services that you don't want to learn or you can't do on your own, and the passion to keep it going. Most people have more of some and less of others. And let's break this down kind of with some workarounds. So time. If your slice of the pie for time is really, really small, you may need a bigger budget to engage help to get the job done. But money is tight. Then try publishing maybe shorter podcast episodes. You don't have to do a 1-hour show if time is your enemy. You can do a 30-minute show. You can do a 15-minute show, a 5-minute show. See what I mean? You can make some adjustments to the time that you're able to devote to your podcast. Maybe you can partner with someone else and share the time across more than one person running the show. Have a co-host. And the 2 of you could then divide up the responsibilities and get back your time. So if time is small, what can you do to increase or change the size of that slice? Next is money. If money is the smallest slice of your pie, you'll need more time on a limited number of things you can figure out yourself and then doing research to find good freelancers with rates that you can afford. Here again, having a co-host or a panel show, you could distribute the workload and even the costs. You may also choose to look into crowdfunding. Use a Buy Me a Coffee at buymeacoffee.com and allow your audience to give you some of the money you need to then outsource some of the work to increase the money part of what you're going to put into your show. Shorten the length of your podcast and maybe change your publishing schedule. If you can't do a weekly show because of costs, then maybe do once every 2 weeks, once a month, once every 2 months. See, there's some adjustments here. And again, this is your podcast. You can do whatever you want. There's great practices and great things that you could put into place to be consistent on a regular basis. Weekly is great. This show is 3 times a week. Do I expect you to do a 3-time-a-week show? No, not at all. But it works for me. It works with my schedule. So that's why I do what I'm doing here on the How to Podcast series. So we've looked at time. If the slice is too small, maybe we can adjust that and make it bigger. money. The resources aren't there. We work with somebody else. We ask our audience to help. The other part is passion. Earlier, you were asked why other people should care about your podcast. Now consider why you do. Do you love your subject? Doing something that you're not passionate about will not be sustainable. Know what your passions are and the things that drive you. That's super important for your podcast. So if your passion slice is really small, you need to increase that and grow that so it's more equal around how you divide up your pie. People have lots of reasons for podcasting and lots of different goals that they hope to achieve. It's as various as the types of podcasts out there. Think about what spells podcast success to you. Is it sharing something you deeply care about? Raising your professional profile and reputation? Showcasing your knowledge and presentation skills in hopes of maybe booking a speaking gig and getting on stage? Is it connecting with your customers? You have a business and you want to connect with them. Is it driving traffic to your website to check out your product, services, your coaching program? Getting downloads and developing a community of committed conversation? Building enough audience to get subscriptions, sponsors, ads, and eventually the podcast could even pay for itself? These are all different focuses and goals that we have as a podcaster. So my big challenge for you today is to answer these questions today. As I look at this pie, and I'm going to divide it up, how much time do you have to devote to your podcast? Figure that out by day, by week, by month, whatever. How much time do you have right now with no changes to your schedule? How much availability do you have to be a podcaster? How much money do you have right now to invest into your podcast? Between technology, hosting sites, website, tools like Canva, promotion, on and on and on. You can spend a lot of money in podcasting if you want to. And you can do it for free. Podcastforfree.com is my website with free tools. But podcasting can cost money. So how much money do you have to put into this on a regular basis without ruining your family's income? How much money do you have to put into your podcast? And lastly, how much passion do you have to be a podcaster and to talk about the things that you've chosen to talk about in your show? When I see podcasters give up after 3, 5, 7 episodes, it could be because they've run out of time, they've run out of money, or they've run out of passion. And that's the hurdle that we get when, as a new podcaster, where a lot of people give up is they pod fade. They just walk away from their show with no ending. And they just give up because they've run out of time, money, or passion. So I want you to be full of all of these things. I want you to have a project-sized piece of pie for time, a project-sized piece of pie for money, and a project-sized piece of pie for passion. Because you just are in this for the long haul. And you're like, Dave, but I don't know if I want a podcast for eternity. Did you know that you could podcast in a limited series, do 5 episodes, 10 episodes, 20 episodes, and go beginning, middle, end, and then be done? And then start a brand new podcast about a new topic. Did you know you can do that? Yes. Yes, you can. Signing up to be a podcaster does not mean you have to make 800, 900, 2,000 episodes. You can make 5 and be done, and then jump to the next topic and start another show. Doesn't mean you have to do them all at the same time like I'm doing. You can just do one, take it to completion, and move on. You're allowed to do that. So don't think that you have to do a bajillion episodes of your podcast and be doing this once a week for the rest of your life. No. You can do limited series. You can do whatever you want. You don't have to fit into a certain mold to be a podcaster. You just have to podcast. And if you're looking for help to get in touch with your time, money, and passion, and you have questions about this, you're like, Dave, great topic, but I'd like to know more, and I'd like to have a conversation about this. Howtopodcast.ca is my website. calendar link's right there. Jump in, spend some time with me on the calendar, and let's talk about this. And now I'm going to go eat some pie because I love pie. And I would love to hear what your favorite kind of pie is. So on my howtopodcast.ca is a speak pipe. Just respond and say, hey, Dave, my favorite type of pie is fill in the blank, and then tell me the name of your podcast. Because then we'll promote your podcast here on the show. And I'd love to hear, what's your favorite kind of pie? Yeah. Mine, again, pumpkin. Pumpkin pie. Done. Done and done and done. That's my favorite. So I'd love to hear yours. howtopodcast.ca. And again, if you have any questions about time, money, and passion for your show, reach out. Let's have a conversation. And let's help you to uncover more time, more money, and more passion for your show here on the How to Podcast series. You're a new podcaster. We're in your corner. We believe in you. You're going to do great things. Take care. Hey, thank you for sticking all the way through to the very end. It's bittersweet that the episode is over and that we're done for this episode, but you will come back and I will come back. And, you know, there's you and me and we're one big happy family here at the How to Podcast series, far beyond being just pod pals, which is fine, but I'd much rather do life together as family here. And to that end, a reminder as we talked earlier in other episodes as well, that we do have a meetup group and you are invited. I would love to have you come. It's free. We do them scattered throughout our calendar, different days, different times, because we have people listening around the world like Cuba and Warsaw, Poland. Hi, Cuba. It's amazing how we can reach the world with a podcast. So through our meetup group, what we do is we get together. It's free for you. Cost me money, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. We get together, we meet other podcasters, we talk podcasting, and it's a way to get from behind the microphone, sitting by ourselves, recording on our own, and doing community. Podcasters need community. You need to meet other podcasters. And just in a low-key, fun environment, talk podcasting. So my challenge to you in 2024 and beyond is to get into a meetup group, find other podcasters, introduce yourself, and make new friends. It's just like school all over again, grade 9. Let's meet each other and share the podcast journey. Go to howtopodcast.ca and click on all the information you'll find there around our meetups. And I'd love to have you there. Thanks for listening. Catch you on the next episode. Get out there and record your podcast. Take care.